hosting these events with the House Democrats is to, have more public feedback in this building. It can be very aggravating during our legislative session that bills move forward and we don't have a way that the public gets to give testimony or feedback. If any of y'all have gone to a school board meeting or a city council meeting, hopefully Councilwoman Nice doesn't have any PTSD, but they have public feedback so that you can actually hear from other folks that about changes that are being made. But up here, we're cranking it out, right? We're moving bills along. And unfortunately, that means some really big things get decided quickly without public input. So we felt strongly that we wanted to create that opportunity for public input and also just for regular updates during session. So I'm really glad you're here. It's a pivotal time in session, and I know we'll get to hear from our colleagues. I think Senator Nice is the only person not on the panel this evening that's here, and we're so grateful because we are in Senator Nice's district. Glad to have it. If Trish, Chairwoman Ranson, if she wants to introduce the House members, and then we'll kick it off. We'll do a legislative panel, and then anyone who wants to speak, we've got to sign up specifically for speaking, and you're welcome to add yourself to that list.
Awesome. Thank you for coming. I'm Representative Trish Ranson. I represent House District 34 right in the heart of Stillwater. I'm chair of the Democratic Caucus in the House, and we have a few members here. We have Representative Blansett from Tulsa. We have Representative Clinton from Tulsa, and we have Representative Timmons from Oklahoma City. And I will let my colleague here introduce yourself when it's time. Right? Or do you want to just represent?
We'll let them.
Yes. Representative McCain, so she could recognize herself. But thank you for coming. On top of us going into our districts and having town halls and having forums, this is another avenue for which we can collect information, because when we're in our own districts, information could be a little different than what we hear here. And so I think this is a valid and a worthy endeavor for all of us to be together and for you to come to the Capitol. So thank you very much.
All right, so here's what we asked of our legislators up front. We asked them to talk specifically about a really positive bill that either they've worked on or they've been able to support, and perhaps one that they're more concerned about that's moving through the process. And so if you would introduce yourself and your district and a little bit about you and your priorities, I would appreciate that. Can we start on the far end with Senator Dossett, please?
Sure. Thank you so much, Leader Kurt. And thank you all for coming tonight. Truly remarkable. You made time out of your evenings to be here. Leader, I am reflecting on something that you said earlier about the wonderful Senate. Yeah, I don't think we're wonderful. Thank you. Even though we are not wonderful and we're often not doing the will of the people, thank you for continuing to engage and show up to events like this, and to, I hope that everyone in here, as well as attending these events, you've also identified who your representative and who your senator is, and that you're contacting them often on matters of importance to you. It really makes a difference when you do that. My name is Joanna Dossett, Senate District 35, Midtown Tulsa. This is year 6 for me in the Senate. Although I don't believe we're all that wonderful, it is an honor and a privilege to come here every day and serve best I can the residents in Midtown Tulsa. One issue that I'm really excited about this year is it's a bill that I'm running, an initiative that I'm working on to get some state funding for the 211 hotline. If you have never dialed 211 yourself, I bet you know someone who has. It's a hotline that provides resources to folks who are looking for food or shelter, transportation, medical needs, a variety of other concerns that they may have. It's a program that was funded by the state up until about a decade ago, and we lost all funding for it in a rough budget year. Since then, the nonprofits, philanthropies in Tulsa and Oklahoma City have been funding it, managing it, administering it, operating it. And this year, we're going to try to introduce some state funding back into it. The initial ask was $3 million. We'll see what happens with that ask. The bill that I'm running affecting that is over in the House right now. And then there's a House bill that's come over, or that's come over to the Senate that I will be running as well, dealing with a statewide advisory council for the 211 hotline. One issue that I'm concerned about, probably, I would say probably top concern of mine. I'm not going to give you a bill number or anything, but it's just it's a narrative. It's an effort. It seems like we're doing everything we can this year, either to cut or to reduce or somehow restrict the collection of property taxes in the state of Oklahoma. I'm sure you've read about it in the news. I'm sure you may have opinions about it yourself. Although measures like that, efforts like that don't impact state revenue, measures like that could severely impact revenue that's available to you as residents of your city, your county, your school district, wherever you reside. And I think those are the bills and the efforts and the resolutions that we're voting on that are of most concern to me. They seem to be sailing through. So don't know what's in place to slow those down or stop those, but plan to be here as part of the resistance towards those initiatives this year. Thank you so much.
Turned it off. All right. Good evening. So my name is Michael Brooks, and so I'm state senator for District 44, which is the south side of Oklahoma City. So when I'm not here, I'm working in my office over on the south side as an immigration lawyer. And so given the current state of national affairs, that's been part of the focus is being here. And so I think at the beginning of session, we'd identified probably about 35 anti-immigrant bills that had been filed between the House and the Senate. And so we set about to try. And so as much as we've been playing offense, I think a lot of times when you're here, you're playing defense. And so trying to be able to work behind the scenes and trying to do what you can to be able to kill really, really bad bills. And so as far as kind of proactive things that I've been able to do, I came up with a few bills that I think that the state of Oklahoma did have the authority to be able to implement when it came to immigration. And so one of those was to be able to authorize religious leaders and state elected officials to be able to give them the authority to be able to conduct informal inspections of private prisons. Because unfortunately, some of these prisons have been mothballed for 15, 16 years, and they reopened them within a month. And so we're having issues with communication systems, we're having issues with sewage systems, we're having all sorts of different issues. And so that was one of the bills that I was able to run. Unfortunately, given the year that it is, I was able to get it through through a committee unanimously. Unfortunately, we weren't able to convince floor leadership to be able to put it on the floor. And so that bill has died. In addition, there have been another bill that was kind of timely, I think, and I think other states you hear about them trying to do it, is a bill to be able to limit law enforcement's ability to be able to use masks to hide their identity whenever they're arresting people. And so understanding, kind of like people in this room, because I think if you're here, you're thoughtful most likely, and that you're engaged in policy. So understanding the tenets of federalism, that unfortunately there's not much of an opportunity for the state of Oklahoma to be able to tell federal agents what to be able to do or what they can do. But what we can do is regulate state officials. And so the idea of that bill was also to be able to limit the ability for state and local law enforcement to be able to use masks to hide their identity without a court order, which I think would have survived constitutional muster and would have created difficulties for federal officials to be able to conscribe state officials to be able to go be a part of what's going on with ICE. Again, unfortunately, given times the way they are, and given the ratios when it comes to political affiliation in the building, I was able to get it, I was able to get it out of committee with a unanimous vote, but wasn't able to get it to the floor. And so that leaves one additional bill. And so this bill is a little different for me. But one of the other things that's happening a lot within the Latino community on the South Side and actually all over the state of Oklahoma is the rise of notarios. And so notarios, a notario in Latin America is something akin to like a magistrate. And so a lawyer of the highest level that can even grant divorces and do different things like that. Well, that word notario sounds a lot like notary, which is a person in the state of Oklahoma who witnesses signatures and can get a seal for about $50. And so for the past, for as long as I've been an immigration lawyer, which is 30 years, there have been people, unscrupulous people, who've gotten a notary seal, put a sign out in their front yard saying notario, and people would come and consult them and take their advice when it comes to immigration issues, even though they may not have any training or experience in what they're doing. And so it's become even more prevalent recently with the rise in immigration enforcement. And so a bill, fortunately, because I was seated just like you guys are, kind of as constituents and activists, probably about 14 years ago, a group of interested individuals were able to make it illegal for notarios or for notaries to hold themselves out as notarios and charge money to be able to provide these types of services, because often it left people in worse situations than when they started. But one of the things that didn't happen was meaningful punishments for that. And so normally I'm the person who's first to fight against increased jail time or creating an additional felony or doing some of those things. But this is something that oftentimes people are being defrauded of anywhere between $4,000 and $10,000 a person. And having multiple people come in who have been defrauded to be able to decide to be able to do something about that. And so fortunately, so we had referred people to the Attorney General's office, to the Consumer Fraud Division. However, they hadn't pursued charges because it didn't carry jail time. And so one of the things we did is to create a jail sentence commensurate with any other misdemeanor, so up to a year in jail. So hopefully we can get some enforcement to be able to eliminate that kind of fraud going on in the community. And so that is one thing that that I think I was excited about. One of the things that I'm concerned about is, again, being in the seats where you guys are, probably about 17 years ago, I guess being an activist, being engaged in my community, is that we came out here and worked really, really hard to be able to get in-state tuition for kids who are undocumented. And so I don't know if any of you were part of that and pounded the pavement and tried to help, but remarkably enough, we were able to get bipartisan support to be able to allow for kids who went to their last 2 years to an Oklahoma high school and graduated from an Oklahoma high school. If they're undocumented, they can't qualify for federal financial aid or most scholarships, but at the very least, this would allow them to be able to qualify for in-state tuition. And so this is something that I think had just recently come to light with the Trump administration, some other places. And so they've been putting hard pressure to be able to repeal those laws that the state of Oklahoma already put into effect. And so the current bill is SB 1633. Unfortunately, it was able to make it off the floor of the Senate. Now it's the House's problem, but we're looking for ways to be able to stop that from happening. I think all in all, there are probably about 500 students who were impacted. For those 500 students, what happened is probably about 8 weeks into the semester, so about halfway through the semester in the fall, they received letters saying that their tuition for that very same tuition was tripling. Their tuition was going somewhere from $6,000 a semester up to about $18,000 a semester, and they had a week to pay it or withdraw from classes. And so I don't think it does any great benefit to the state of Oklahoma to limit people's access to education, especially kids oftentimes that have gone K through 12 here. And so that's one of those things, again, that we're trying to play defense, trying to be able to mobilize people, to be able to provide a kind of a voice of conscience. And I think humanity, that this isn't the Oklahoma standard, and this is not the way that we go forward. And so, like I said, I'm pleased and honored to be able to be here. I'm humbled that you guys are all here because, like I said, probably 10, 15 years ago, I was seated exactly where you are, looking for reasons to be able to get involved. And so, again, I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
All right. Wow. Trish Ranson, State Representative for House District 34 in Stillwater. A bill that I have been working on for about the last 3 years is House Bill 1979. And what it does is it carves out all early childhood programs and services across 6 different agencies, and it consolidates it under one roof in one agency. 26 other states have consolidated governing of early childhood programs and have found that targeted investment in early childhood makes rankings go up. Imagine that. And seeing as we're in the bottom 10 on a lot of the early childhood initiatives, that has been something that we've been struggling for and pushing towards. This task force is agency directors as well as advocates to craft the legislation, because unlike my colleagues across the aisle, I believe that if you're going to bust up agencies, you should have a plan. And so that's what this task force is to do. So that's what I'm really excited about, because it's been a lot of work to get it to this point. But then what I am concerned about is that we have passed several HJRs, which puts items on the ballot. So it is difficult for citizens of the state of Oklahoma to be able to get a ballot question on the ballot, because you have to have a petition, you have to have all the signatures and all of this. It is very easy for the legislature to put a question on the ballot. And there are several, as mentioned, ad valorem, Medicaid expansion repeal. There is quite a few, but the most concerning about it is that they want the state questions to be on the August ballot. That is conceivably the Republican runoff election, which has the most conservative voters. So and so they want to decide what we're going to do with just that core of voters. So the main concern that I have is making sure that we have August 25th on our calendars, because it doesn't matter if you're independent, Democrat, or Republican. If you're registered to vote in the state of Oklahoma, you can vote on that election for those ballot questions. And we need to make sure that we get as many people realizing this fact and get them out to vote in August.
I'm Michelle McCain. I represent House District 72 in Tulsa. Thank you guys, as everyone has said, for being here. I was able to pass House Bill 1016 that provides just some protections for compensation for kids that are in social media content that generates revenue. It does not require all creators to do this, but if you're making more than $10,000 in a 12-month time period, and if the kid is in 30% of your content, then you have to keep some records about the work that they do and set aside some of that compensation into a trust. Part of the reason for a trust versus just giving them a paycheck is that those videos and posts can generate income for months and years to come after they've been put up. It also gives kids, once they turn 13, the right to ask for content to be taken down. And my rationale for that over 18 is that at 13, they're allowed to sign up for their own social media account and curate their online image. And so I felt like it was fair to allow them to have some control over their online image. So I'm very excited about that. And I was also able to support some bills that prohibit elected officials from using NDAs, regulate some of our utility stuff around data centers, and clarify that Oklahoma's promise will include librarians, which I know is a big thing for some folks. I share lots of the concerns, especially on the HJRs. And one that I will tell you about that I'm really hoping doesn't pass in the Senate is HJR 1089, which is a constitutional convention. I'm all for updating the Constitution, but one of the things that concerns me about this bill is that the legislature would be all of the delegates, and that would be it. There would not be anybody else. I don't think that we should be creating the Constitution that we have an oath to uphold in its entirety. I would say the same thing if the Democrats had a supermajority. I think it's very inappropriate. I think if we're going to do a constitutional convention, we need to do it correctly, and we need to do it with the right stakeholders at the table, and it's not the bodies in this building. So I would hope that everyone keeps an eye out for that one. And then another bill that I don't think is super concerning for a lot of people, but is concerning for teachers and kind of speaks to how things are going in this building is House Bill 4253, which originally started out as the Taxpayer Dollars Protect Workers Act, and it passed unanimously in the Rules Committee at the beginning of March. And then in the middle of the night on March 26th, an amendment was filed that was presented on the floor that suddenly changed it to be about professional education associations and their bargaining rights and conditions and things like that. Not only do I think it's a bad bill, I'm always going to be suspicious and concerned whenever things aren't done transparently. We did not get off the floor until 12:30 a.m. on March 26th. So we were still in this building when that amendment was filed, or we may have already been gone depending on how late. And then less than 10 hours later, we had to vote on that. And so that type of stuff is why it is hard sometimes for you guys to keep track of what we're doing, but also makes it hard for us to communicate with you in advance about what's going on. And that's called bill shucking, when they take a bill and take all the language out and put something new in. HJR 1089 that I talked about was kind of done in similar fashion. It had been filed with kind of placeholder language, and then all of a sudden Monday, while we were on the floor, it was added to the agenda with this completed language about a constitutional convention. Thankfully, we didn't vote on it that day, and I was able to send out things, but we still did not have a lot of time to consider something so significant. And so those are some things that I would say to pay attention to and be mindful of. Certainly talk to your senators about what your thoughts are on those things and let them know how you feel, since we've passed those over to the Senate. But again, I thank you all for being here, and I'm looking forward to hearing your input.
Thanks so much. I appreciate you all and what you've shared, and I'm sure we'll have more questions come up. Just briefly, I wanted to just mention that one of the slides that's going past is of upcoming deadlines. And so how we operate up here, you all may know this, but I'm going to go ahead and go through it, which is House bills start in the House, Senate bills start in the Senate. We are at the point where they cross over. So they've passed a Senate committee in theory. I say in theory because all of our rules allow for them to suspend the rules when they choose to. So House bills have passed through a House committee and through the House floor, which means the full House saw them. Likewise with the Senate. And now those bills are crossing over to the other chamber. So House bills are coming to our Senate committees. Senate bills are coming to the House committees. And then there's a few stragglers from last year because our session runs 2 years. Bills can carry over. So there will be a few odds and ends floating around there to keep us confused. But just so you have a sense of where we are. So I know for me as a Senate member, I don't spend much time looking at House bills till later because so many House bills get filtered out or changed at the last second before they arrive. So I'm in the mode of like, oh, what House bills do I need to read right away so I can get up to speed? So as we talk about any specific bills, if y'all bring up specific bills, we'll have to triangulate a little bit to answer any questions or concerns. The other thing I wanted to say is just that HJRs and SJRs are Senate joint resolutions and House joint resolutions. And those are just a specific type of legislation that can send something to the ballot. So they're supposed to be different than other bills because what we're doing is recommending something go to the people. So generally that's a change in the Constitution. So I think when you see dozens of House joint resolutions or Senate joint resolutions, you know that something's afoot because it's a political move to make a decision about things that are going to go to the people. And as much as I want you all to be able to decide about lots of things, I want them to be well thought through things that are being sent to you and not just wide open constitutional conventions, which is probably going to keep me up at night until that is done. Because I don't know if any of y'all read about the first Oklahoma Constitutional Convention, but it was pretty messy to start with. And I can't imagine right now if we have a process that doesn't include the people now. I know how we make bills and laws now, so I don't feel confident. Anyway, what I wanted to say is just if there's terms that we use that you don't know, you're welcome to give us a question mark or raise your hand. You end up being in this building too much, you can use terminology that gets a little insidery. And I do want to say that libertarians are welcome to vote as well. I know, poor libertarians never get a shout out. And I have a very active libertarian in my district. See, your voice matters. I have a person in my district who's very active in the Libertarian Party. So I try to never forget the Libertarian Party. Your voice does matter. So here's what we're going to do. So if you didn't get to sign up to speak and you really want to speak, I've got that right here and you can come around and sign up. We're going to ask people to come up to the podium, and I'll turn that mic on before you come up and you can introduce yourself. Just if you haven't spoken here before, it's kind of a formal building. It's a formal space, but your voice is very welcome. And I hope you know that we are here to listen to you. And so although this space may be intimidating, I hope that it does not intimidate you, or take a deep breath and take your time if you need to, because we want to hear from you. We want to hear what you have to say. So I just say that because I think this space can be a little intimidating. I want to also just add that bathrooms are right around the corner outside, and you are welcome to the water that's in front of you. Any other housekeeping things? No? Okay, so we are going to get started with Julie Duran McCullough. And, I know, I need to talk about logistics as you walk up. Anna is our timekeeper. See Anna in the middle here? She's our timekeeper. So when you have 30 seconds left, she's going to wave the flag at you. We don't have enough people signed up that we're going to give you a gong. But we'll try to encourage you not to go too long if possible. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me here. This is really awesome. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Julie Duran McCullough. I'm a registered nurse. I work in a Title I high school and an elementary school, and I'm currently working on a degree for special education. Most importantly, I'm the mother of a beautiful little boy that's diagnosed with autism, who has behavior problems due to the lack of support in his school. And that is why I'm here to discuss the House Bill 3885. House Bill 3885 creates escalating discipline for students that's directly impacted by a disability. This is a bill about school discipline, but the real impact goes much deeper than discipline alone. The House Bill 3885 would subject students in grades 3 through 5th for escalating suspension consequences due to injuring a school employee or a volunteer. According to the House Bill summary, the first offense would require a 3-day in-house suspension. A second offense would require a 7 out of school suspension. And then the third offense in the same school year, it would result in expulsion. So although a superintendent could modify the term case by case, the bill passed the House on March 24th by the vote of 83 to 14 and was engrossed on March 25th. And had its first reading in the Senate. Now, let me be clear. The school staff deserve safety. Nobody should ever be hurt at work, but this is not what's up for debate. What is also true is that the children in grades 3 to 5th are still children. So in many cases, behavior is not always defiance. It's intervene before things escalate. Behaviors are communication. So a child with a sensory overwhelming fight or flight response, communication barriers, we just need to do more about what supports were in place before this happened, what escalation happened, what behavior plan was used, what did the staff have. So there's a lot more that needs to be done for this bill, a lot more to be looked at. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's really helpful. Colby Simpson, are you ready? Or Mom, do you want to go first, or does Colby get to go first? So glad these guys are here. They've been regulars, but they haven't spoken before. You can just pull the mic kind of over. I was getting off to the edge. There you go. Good job. Thank you, Ms. McCain.
Okay.
She's a teacher, y'all.
Turn. You can be scared. Okay. Be scared. Right here. Turn and talk to Sarah. Be scared.
Or you can talk to them.
Do you want me to stand in front of you so people can't see you? No? You can do this. We'll do it to listen to you, and that's okay how slow you go, or if you go fast. Or you just want to say a couple of things. Isn't making me nervous. Do still, but everything feels really simple. So you have to time you need to take a breath and get ready. And you don't even have to look at anybody when you talk. You can just look at your paper and just listen to you. Who's first? Let me see mine first. Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
And then we'll get him to go maybe a little bit.
There you go.
There. We are here to speak about SB 1489 because special education rights only matter when schools are required to understand them, explain them clearly, and follow them consistently. This bill is about more than policy language. It's about whether children with disabilities and their families can access what the law already promises without having to fight every step of the way. For us, this is personal. My son, Colby, is 6 years old. He's bright, capable, and reading above grade level. But academic strength does not cancel out support needs. He was on an IEP, and after that support was removed, behavior started. Since then, we have lived through an entire school year of watching those struggles continue without enough meaningful action to address what is really underneath them. And that's the problem. Too often, when a child starts struggling, the focus shifts to the behavior instead of the cause. Adults respond to what is visible, but not to what is driving it. They react to the hard moment, but they do not always go back and ask the harder question: what support was removed? What need is being missed? And what does this child need in order to be successful? Families should not need a law degree, an advocate, and a full emotional support team to get the schools to follow federal law. And yet, that is too often exactly what happens. Parents are left trying to figure out evaluations, services, timelines, dispute processes, eligibility decisions, and procedural safeguards, while also raising children who may already be struggling. That's not a fair system. It's an exhausting system. What makes SB 1489 important is that it reinforces something that should already be obvious. Disability rights are not optional, and access to information should not depend on whether a parent happens to know the right terminology or the right person to call. Transparency matters, compliance matters, early intervention really matters. Because when schools delay, minimize, or fail to follow the law, children lose time that they do not get back. And in child development, lost time matters. It's also important because parents' rights are only real if families can actually find them, understand them, and use them. A right buried in a policy manual might as well be invisible. So yes, this bill may look simple, but simple does not mean small. For families navigating disability, special education, and school systems, this is about whether the state is willing to put some backbone behind transparency and compliance. That's worth talking about. That's worth supporting. That's worth watching as it moves through the House, because children with disabilities should not have to fight harder for what the law already promises them. Thank you. Let me go. Here's. Look at me. Look at me, Henry. Come on. My name's Colby. Go ahead. Okay. I won't cry. He said, "Are you going to cry if I read it?" I might cry, but it's okay.
It's okay to cry.
Okay, go ahead.
You read with me? Hi, my name is Colby, and I'm in
first grade at Buchanan Elementary School, and sometimes kids have a hard time at school even when they are smart and trying. When kids are struggling, they need grown-ups to understand them and help them. Please make sure schools know how to help kids and families better. Thank you.
Great job. Great job. Camden, you ready, bud? All right, come on, sir.
What are you saying? I don't know what you're saying. Katie has a good pressure me. I don't have the paper. Katie has it. KJ.
Don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay. Huh. So read it. Just hold it. No, you read it. Right here. And here.
I am
Mm-hmm.
I am here to keep for
Student council.
student council and why it is good
Good for kids.
good for kids.
We can
That we can help change
rules.
rules like
Lunch.
lunch and
Recess.
recess and
Now.
math.
I'm going to make this harder. Here. Think. I think I'll read it with you. I think
I think schools should have student councils because we should learn more about government. I am learning about government and have met and talked with my state representative has an employment. It's important for kids to talk with their representative to help learn and to help them know more about student council.
Excellent. Thank you so much, guys. That was awesome. All right, Joseph. Joseph? Bierschink? Bierschink? Am I saying your name wrong? Oh, do you want to speak? You don't have to. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Robert, did you want to speak or are you signing in? Okay. All right. We won't make anyone speak, I promise. Linda Monroe, come right down. Oh, thank you.
My notes here. Hi, I'll be brief. I'm Linda Monroe. I'm a state employee. I work for Department of Human Services. I'm here as a private citizen. I'm here, I am concerned about the lack of raises for state employees. I know that a bill was introduced this year, and then I don't even know if it never went anywhere. And I can't recall in the past, if they've been introduced and died or whatever. But a recent OMS report said that more than 31,000 state employees are paid on the average 48% below competitive fair market salaries. So as you can imagine, that it makes it very hard to retain employees. This legislature has not approved a raise for state employees since 2019. And as I already spoke, we're so underpaid right now that it's a miracle that we are able to hire and retain anybody. And during that time, inflation has gone up 26%. In FY24, there was a 22% turnover rate costing more than $286 million to taxpayers, essentially. And 450 state employees leave state service every month. Now, that's from Google, so, take it with a grain of salt. But there is a high turnover rate in a lot of places, and you can understand why it's really hard to carry on business if you don't have trained state employees. And when you have high turnover rate, obviously you just have to keep training and training and training. Now, I'm in child support. I'm not in child welfare, but you can imagine the kind of problems you have in child welfare with that kind of turnover as well. I know that I'm preaching to the choir. I know that you would give us a raise if you could, but I definitely wanted to say something about it and bring it to your attention. And we don't begrudge teachers getting anything, but there does seem to be an emphasis where everybody's concerned about teachers getting raises. So, thank you.
Thank you, Linda. There is a bill, the only bill moving on state pay from the Senate side is a longevity pay bill. And it's but it's very small, very small. Stephen Goldman, step right up.
Oh, howdy. I'm Steve Goldman, proud resident of the Independent People's Republic of the Village, and wanted to pick up on something that Representative Ranson mentioned, which is one of those bills that have suddenly come out of nowhere to have a state question to repeal Medicaid expansion for adults. That we all thought Sooner Care, Medicaid expansion for adults was successful and safe. Enshrined in our state constitution. But now mean politicians want to downgrade that protection by having a state question to take Medicaid expansion for adults and just make it an ordinary law, not something safe in the Constitution. And that means that Medicaid expansion to adults can get repealed anytime on one vote. So as folks are talking about, this August 25th election is going to have this secret state question in it, and we're going to have to put together a whole bunch of no votes for it. The way it works is that Medicaid expansion to adults gets repealed completely. And what's not being factored in is that takes away Sooner Care from parents and grandparents raising grandchildren. So that's going to be an important part of the message, is this is taking away Sooner Care from parents and grandparents raising grandchildren. So I've got a lot more data on it and happy to work for folks on this. The tough part's going to be the quick time frame, and getting folks out to vote no on something is going to be crucial. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Stephen. That bill does still have to go through the Senate. Not to say that means it's going to get stopped there, but there still is an opportunity to speak to your senator if you care about that bill. Avery Fennell. step right up.
Like the infamous Dr. Carlos says, good day, good people. I wish I had some things prepared. I want to say thank you to you guys for putting this together and lending your ears to us citizens. My name is Avery Fennell. I work as an entrepreneur in credit card processing and merchant services and fintech. I live in Edmond. And today I'm here on behalf of American Descendants of Slavery Advocacy Foundation. One thing that we work close with inside of our organization is a data and historical context. I don't know if you guys are aware, I'm sure you guys are. We are in the midst of one of the largest wealth transfers our country has ever seen. And so some things that are concerning to me is that we haven't brought enough attention to that when we consider the Black American historical context for the state of Oklahoma. Just a quick update on data, wealth data. I want you guys to be aware of this. This is from the Peer Research Center. The white median household income is over $284,000. The Hispanic household wealth income is $62,000. And the Black household income is only $44,100. And in the state of Oklahoma, in Tulsa, the median net worth for Black American homes is only $8,000. There are findings throughout data, the Census Bureau, and it shows that Black households hold only about 15 cents for every dollar of wealth held by white households. My concern, again, is for the lack of concern to address the lineage wealth gap in the state of Oklahoma. In light of immigration trends and focus within our party,
Many of you have seen me around the Capitol since February 2nd. I've been here about 40 hours a week, every week. And I'm here to discuss Senate Bill 1421. It did not meet deadline on Friday, but I want to let everybody know we will be back next year. What the bill does, and my heart bleeds for these children because it really addresses the issues you're dealing with. Senate Bill 1421 is called nonviolent intervention. And what the bill is actually, we use those words because we know trauma-informed triggers people around here. So we use some different words. And I want to first thank Senator Dossett for her leadership this session on this. I came to them in November with 10 months of research and field studies that I'd witnessed with my own eyes of providers for children not being able to manage their own emotions while dealing with our kids. And what it is if you have a bachelor's degree or above, you get that training, or kinda, we won't say you get it, but you are given that opportunity to get that training. But if you have a high school diploma up to a bachelor's degree, nobody expects you to have this training. So our kids our people who are having the most face time with our kids don't know how to regulate their own emotions. So I think it covers some of what a lot of people have talked about tonight. Like I said, we will be back. It's being done by the Our Kids Deserve Better Coalition, which I founded, which is getting an advisory board in April. I'm excited not to be able to have to make all the decisions myself anymore, but we will be back. An amendment, really quick, an amendment was added even though this did not have a House author. And it was on purpose that it didn't have a House author, but an amendment was added that so egregious, changes it completely, that I'm not going to tell you who did it. You can go find it, but that is one situation that will be addressed in the future.
Thank you so much, and thanks for your continued advocacy. So, ideas for bills and the work on bills does come a lot of times from our constituents and from people we meet who are advocates and who tell us their stories and bring solutions forward. And I think that's an incredibly important part of this process. I do want to mention one thing, just because several people are past participants, which is partners in policymaking. If you care about issues around disabilities, working with people with disabilities, being a caregiver, being a person with disabilities yourself, there's a really fabulous leadership networking program that the Disabilities Council offers. And several of the folks here are great advocates out of that program. And so if you are interested in learning more, there were some great advocates around mental health, specific things around special ed. We had some great conversations, and I think it's one of the best programs I know of in terms of building up advocates. The other thing I just wanted to offer, I didn't see anyone else sign up, so I just briefly wanted to say that I appreciate you being here. I know that it's a dedication of your time and your energy to get into this building, but I just hope that we can continue to break down those walls between those people who are here making laws and those of you who might have an interest or concerns about them, so that you know that you can speak up. And if your legislators aren't receptive, you can find others that are, right? Like, I know a lot of people that if they run into a roadblock with their own legislators, they'll talk to other folks, and that's okay. We'll keep working on them, right? Anything else you want to add, Rep. Branson? Okay, well, I hope you'll take the time to say hello if there's specific concerns you want to address or things we didn't talk about tonight that you hope to check up on. We are so appreciative of your presence here, and we're appreciative of you being engaged. Thank you, thank you, thank you for coming.